I've got a really bad cold, so Gina's going to kick this off. I'm going to let her go as long as she wants. Uh, but thanks guys for spending a little time with us. We're recording this. Mike is going to put the PDF in chat. So for those great agency owners, the Always Best Care that didn't join us, um, we can make sure they get it. So the first thing we're gonna, in terms of introductions, really quick. I'm Tim Murray, co-founder and CEO of CINCH.
And
Michael.
I'm Gina. I'm the
Gina.
other co-founder and partner. Like Tim said, we had a home care agency, and that's where we developed CINCH.
Yeah. And I'm Micah Kilgore. I'm the product manager and the quality assurance leader here at CINCH. I worked with Tim and Gina with the home care agency as part of like the office manager and headed up that division, that front.
I saw Tyler just signed on. Do you want Tyler to introduce himself?
Well, we'll give Tyler some airtime from Senior Care Business Advisors later on in the presentation.
Okay.
But welcome, Tyler. I just saw you join the webinar. But as Gina said, at least our background very briefly. Micah, Gina, and I, we worked together at Aware Senior Cares here in Raleigh, Durham. We had it for 6.5 years. We sold it. Exited the agency in December, but we licensed CINCH to the company that acquired us. And we took some time to further develop it and do some research to see if anybody, WellSky, Access Care, we can name all the different platforms, and Alaya Care, SwiftOps, we just couldn't find anybody that adequately really focused on short visit, many to many caregivers to many client model and do it well. And that's what you'll learn that CINCH does. And we were WellSky ClearCare users, and you'll see later on we have a joint marketing agreement with WellSky where they are going to promote CINCH as soon as we get the first integration done. And I'll cover what's going on there. That's just all good news. But for all you guys, we have, I want to say 7 WellSky customers that are using CINCH. So it's our biggest group of customers. But I'm going to turn over to Gina and talk a little about community-based home care.
So like as Tim said, we just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. That these are services typically provided in independent living communities. So not assisted living, not medical services, but communities, that provide meals, might have laundry, transportation, but they can't do what you do. They can't do personal care, medication reminders, and things like that. And so because these residents have many services there for them, the visits they need are typically pretty short. They need 45 minutes for a shower. They may need only 15 minutes for a medication reminder. And that's wonderful to be able to just charge them for what they need. So if you have many clients in a building, you might have many caregivers all working at the same time. They see many clients, and the software platform, especially WellSky, they don't create a caregiver schedule for them. So while there's no typical community size, the agencies we work with, they run from about 20 clients in a community up to 100. Now there's other communities that have several hundred. My mother lived in an independent community in Pennsylvania that had over 3,000 on their campus. So they had quite a few folks that took short visits. So we're looking at pretty much 20 to 100 clients in a community for an agency. Let's just go to the next one. Thanks. So, we use WellSky also. It was wonderful. One caregiver to one client. It's easy to pay the caregiver. You're charging the client, very simple invoicing. But in community care, if you're trying to piece these visits and how do you pay the caregiver, it was really challenging. And that's why many agencies fail. So the way CINCH is set up, the caregiver gets paid. When they arrive in the community, they're working, say, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. They get paid that whole time. And then our visits populate the invoice. So they're not connected. It's not a one-to-one. Caregivers are not assigned to the specific clients. So it's a different business model. And that'll alleviate the scheduling nightmare and a lot of those invoice issues that the agencies face. Let you go to the next one. I
Okay,
don't know who's
okay.
driving.
Well, I'm driving. I'm just like asleep at the wheel.
So to be successful, you really do have to have the right stuff. And what we learned very quickly is this is a completely different business line, and it needs to be treated as a different business line from your traditional home care. The tasks might be the same, but it is run very differently. And we found it's very important to set expectations with the residents and their families, and then with the community staff. What can you do? What can't you do? How is this going to run? You know, if a caregiver is 15 minutes late to a community care visit, that they may have missed the entire visit, and now they're behind. Now they're falling behind. So we recommend we coach our agencies into setting expectations. Now, if I'm not there at 10 minutes, at 5 minutes after 10, you know, please give me a little bit of grace. But what is allowable, what's not? Our first community, we took over, the previous agency was asked to leave. And we asked to see their pricing sheet. And it was so complicated that we couldn't understand it. They charged by task. A shower costs this, taking you down to the meal costs this, a medication reminder costs that. And the families were pretty upset. They're like, I'm paying for a shower visit, and then they're charging me for a medication reminder, and then they come back and walk the dog. Are they coming 3 times? Is it 3 different visits? We don't really understand. And then it was, oh, you have the sunrise visit, and every resident was given the same 8 tasks to do. Well, I know that every client is unique, and they all deserve to have their visits built like the traditional home care visits are built. This is your visit. What do you want done during this visit? I'd like you to help me get dressed, but I can make my own bed. I want you to make my bed, but you don't have to worry about the dishes in the sink. So CINCH is built to be client specific and to be managed just like traditional home care, not bundling all the tasks and assuming the residents want the same thing. You really need the right technology. As we said, WellSky does not create a caregiver list of visits where you can read it, see, is there utilization? Are they overstaffed, understaffed? Are they running around the building? Are they going from the 1st floor to the 4th floor, all over the place? You need to have that big picture. We know it's not just a list of visits. Running a home care agency, you've got to have reports. Am I staffing the building appropriately? Are the residents getting what they need, but I don't have caregivers sitting around for the majority of the time I'm paying them? And the technology needs to promote teamwork, which is very unusual in home care. Home care is one caregiver, one client, and they do their job. We found that when they're in a community, you know what? I'm going to deliver breakfast, but I'm waiting. Dining services is running late. So I get a message from my teammate and says, hey, can you pick up Mrs. Smith's breakfast while you're picking up Mrs. Jones's breakfast? I'm running late because Mrs. Smith's on the floor. Can you go do the medication reminder for the other client? So they need to work together. These clients are theirs. It's not yours and mine. And the last point is, most of the communities, usually because of the firewalls, they have poor Wi-Fi and cell service. And there's nothing more frustrating to a caregiver who's trying to document their visit. The service drops. I can't see my task sheet. I can't document. I can't. So CINCH is built to be able to work completely offline. As long as they sign on with service, and at the end of the day, they can sync their visits. The technology needs to be able to work completely offline. So this is what we built, the visual team-based scheduling. So this is a picture of a schedule for one day in a community that has 3 caregivers working at the same time. And these are read vertically, so it's read like an Outlook calendar. You can see at 9:30, the first caregiver is our lead caregiver, last name Kilroy, is in a visit. It's already started, so we can't see the name. But the second caregiver, caregiver 2, Johnson, at 9:30 is going into Paul Murphy's visit, and he's in apartment 230. So this is how you can see the spaces between them. We set it up so you've got the client name, the start time, and the apartment number. And that's a great tool for your schedulers to say, let's shift these around so they're not running all over the place. You can also look at them and say, you know what? If caregiver 3, Smith, has to leave because of an emergency, can the other 2 caregivers pick up their visits? And they can. The office can drag and drop them, or the caregivers that are there can open any visit. So while I might be assigned to the first list and caregiver, the lead caregiver, I can open up any one of these visits. And embedded in the schedule, when you tap on it, it opens up the task sheet. And it will document the person opening the visit. The caregiver that opens the visit documents on the visit. Unless you go somewhere, I could talk about this all.
Do you want me to move forward?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a picture of our caregiver app. It's extremely simple. As a nurse who's been in nursing for over 4 decades, I like things simple. We created it to be extremely simple for the caregivers. They have their list. It shows them their list of visits. And then on the far right there, that's an open visit. They open up their visit. You've got a picture of the client. It records the time they open the visit. So you know exactly when they were in that apartment. It has the client specific visits with instructions for them that, and they tap yes or no, complete or not complete. If they click not complete, they have to put in a reason. And then as you go through at the end of the visit, when they ask the caregiver, have we completed everything? The client gets to tap a button and say, yes, we've done everything. And the end time is captured. So you can run a report, schedule versus actual, to show you what time did the caregiver arrive? What did they do? What time did they leave? Which answers those family questions. And once we were able to do this, the number of phone calls from families decreased tremendously. Oh, we do have a new partner portal in CINCH where, given access, the family can, and it's based on what the agency wants, the family can see their loved one's schedule. They can see completed task sheets, and they can even send a message. Hey, tomorrow mom's got a doctor's appointment. Can she be ready and in the lobby by 8 a.m.? That comes to the dashboard and notifies the office, and the office can accept this visit, propose a new time for the visit, or reject the visit and say, I'm sorry, we don't have a caregiver at that time. So they can message you right through at the system. They can take a look at the schedule and ask you for those. So clients or their loved ones can do that.
Yeah, it's one of the things we need to do is this is no longer going to be the caregiver application, because it's going to be the mobile application, because family members or any point of contact, POA, that the client, or it could even be the community, if that's what the client wants, can authorize access. And so now the mobile is not only caregiver, it's also family members or authorized people to look at the schedules. And like Gina said, I call it, one of the features is Uber. In Uber, you go request a ride. Now you can request a visit. Could be a little bit unwieldy. That's why we configured it where if you don't want to offer that feature, you don't have to. So everything is configurable, really. Everything's role-based, configurable. We're very conscious to control how information disseminated and who can do what with the application.
Could you speak a little bit more about those requesting visits, that option? For example, if you're in a community and could someone who is not already signed up with you request a visit? Or would you have to?
They wouldn't be in the system. So we have a community in Greensboro where it's independent, and not everybody's on service, but what they do is they've got assessments on everybody in the building for this very reason. Because if they're not in the client list, there's no way for them to use the mobile app. There's no way for them to contact through the app. And this way, caregivers also, part of our mobile app is caregivers can do an unscheduled visit. You know, Mrs. Smith stopped me in the hallway and said she's really feeling sick. And I went in and spent a half an hour helping her, you know, get cleaned up and things like that. They put in the unscheduled visit. Again, that'll show up on your dashboard for the office to say, oh, let's see what they did. You accept it as a visit. You can assign a cost to it. So if in your service agreement, you say unscheduled visits cost X for every 15 minutes, you can assign a cost or say, that's the first time, we're not going to charge her for it. Or if your caregiver said, hey, I stopped in to visit Mrs. Smith and we just chatted, that's not really a visit we're going to be, you know, we want to document and charge for. So you can reject it. But you capture all the interactions that your staff have with them. So if there were people who maybe I don't need service, they could be on a PRN status. So they would be in the system if something happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does. The example you gave, everyone in that community was in the system. Would that be the case in all cases if you choose to accept those spur of the moment shifts, or if you didn't want to accept those shifts, there would be no need to do that, I guess.
Right. And I will tell you that you need to definitely charge a premium price for unscheduled shifts, because these are independent folks. And if I've got a 10 o'clock visit, I'm expecting them to come, you know, within a reasonable time around 10 o'clock.
Right.
But if you have a bunch of people pulling your caregivers for unscheduled visits, unplanned visits, your scheduled clients get upset. If it happens once in a while, okay, I understand that. Now we've got one that staffs an extra person because they get a lot of unscheduled visits, and that's the way they want it. But if on a day that person doesn't have many visits, you know, it's give and take if you're going to get the revenue to pay for the caregiver that day.
This is important when you're talking about expectations with the community to get a feel for how they operate, because they're all different. And a very common thing is they'll have the pendant system where clients can hit the pendant and get service. And during COVID-19, everybody's amygdala was so high, the unscheduled visits was off the charts. And we tracked it and we presented it to the ED and said, we have like 400 hours of unpaid for care. And he was like, oh my God, that's the beauty what CINCH does. We're talking about AI these days. With those unscheduled visits, you can identify trends. And it was a beautiful thing. He goes, oh my gosh, I understand where you're coming from, Tim and Gina. What do we do? And I said, well, how about you pay us for a rover? You know, we'll have a separate track for scramble the fighter jets person. And it was a beautiful thing. And, you know, as everybody calmed down and the level of care, we eventually eliminated that rover, and they didn't pay us anymore. And that's because we managed expectation with the clients about, you know, they were pulling the chain if the hot dog needed to be heated up in the microwave or, you know, things like that. Just look, it's for emergency purposes and please respect that. And everything started to fall in place. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
like Tim said, you can identify the trends and say, gosh, she's calling every day at 2 o'clock. Why don't we try scheduling a visit around that time to kind of, you know, what's going on at that time that she's constantly calling at this time. And it's if it's for emergencies, it's one thing. And deciding whether or not you're going to accept clients who need toileting assistance, which can't be scheduled, you have to be very careful about that, because that will wreak havoc with your scheduled visits. You know, you have unhappy people who you're not coming for an unscheduled visit, unhappy people because mine are late. So we've learned a lot about setting expectations of what you can and, you know, what's realistic and what's not.
And then
window do you try to work within? You know, if you've got a scheduled visit, say 10:30, do you say plus or minus 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or something of that nature?
Yes, yeah,
Yep, right in the service agreement.
Okay,
yes,
and
Yep.
15 minutes is what you guys used?
we did. We
Okay.
really did. Because if it was something was going on, we would have the caregiver would message the office and say, can you call Mrs. Smith? Because we are all in visits and I'm not gonna get there. I'm gonna be more than 15 minutes late. And it really helped a lot. So we've got messaging, so the caregivers can secure message each other and they can message the office and say, hey, this is what's going on, heads up. And that way you're proactive and you're making the call instead of you're waiting for someone to call that's upset.
Yeah. Yeah, believe it or not, we had some of our customers giving caregivers walkie-talkies, which I think is not great. And now they got to, and that was costly. Now they just eliminated it. And now they just, everybody uses the messaging app, which is great. And not carrying that extra piece of equipment or cost. Okay. I guess this, nice job, co-founder. I'm going to move on to talking about WellSky. One of the things we designed this from ground up when we were years ago, our product is completely open. We have published APIs to call pieces of our product in entirety, because we envision people using various platforms. And our mission in life is to solve this problem and not be an all-encompassing home care platform. But you'll find with our next release, we cover really all facets of traditional. We call it hybrid. So CINCH today will allow you to do traditional and short visit. And that way in the community, you can just use CINCH for everything. And some of our clients are doing that. They use their WellSky or ERSP or Swift Ops or Access Care for traditional, and then everything is in CINCH, even if it's a traditional, because as you can imagine, one of the opportunities here is mom has a fall, goes out to the hospital, comes back, and 24/7 is required. So now you're back in traditional, but you know, it's nice not to, you can manage that totally with CINCH. So I know I'm deviating here, but this is the relationship that we can have with any platform. We were WellSky users. We did not have an integration. We just created a methodology to use WellSky for what it does well, and then CINCH for what it does well. Taught our staff, it worked beautifully. It was just a process on how we manage the entire picture. And with WellSky, think of it as in the context of community-based care. It does not have, to say it nicely, strong support for community-based care. And they understand that. That's why they did a marketing relationship with us. It's the overall documentation platform where you can have your client profile data, caregiver community profile, the shifts they work in that community, the assessment and care plans. They have all that documentation. And the way Gina so succinctly puts it, that WellSky, and you see clock in and clock out, will tell the caregiver where to go. So Gary Jewell needs to go to Abbotswood. And Gary goes to Abbotswood, got the WellSky app on the phone, it's got CINCH on the phone. And Gary clocks into WellSky, then with a finger clicks to CINCH, begins the visit, and away you go. It's that simple. All the caregivers are like, today, they're so adept now at tablets and phones. It's not a big deal to go to one app, you know, to the second app. And once they're in that world, it's the world of CINCH. So that CINCH has the total management of all the visits. And you see a visit plan, there's a methodology where you have the assessment, which leads to the care plan, which identifies the tasks. And the visit plan basically says, assigns tasks to specific visits. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Mrs. Smith gets yada, yada, yada. That's what a visit plan is. So there's a methodology to it. The schedules are there. You saw the caregiver assignments, the mobile application. And what the cool thing is with what we're developing is, if I go on to the next slide, WellSky is gonna feed us client, caregiver, community, caregiver schedules. And on the way, this is the piece they had to work on, because the big guys like WellSky are good at sending people stuff, but they normally don't accept things from people. So we had to do a little work there. That's the care log. And the beauty of this, if you're in WellSky and you got Cinch side by side, you will see Cinch visits popping up in WellSky in real time. So this relationship, instead of invoicing in Cinch, because we can do that today, what we did with Cinch is we didn't want to reinvent APAR. So we have a nice invoice export to QuickBooks. It works beautifully. It's seamless. We used QuickBooks. But under this relationship, you can totally track, get people to pay in WellSky, whether it's community care. To me, that's the big one. It's a big headache billing in two separate places. And, I get it. It worked fine. We weren't really upset about it, especially in one community. We were making $1.2 million a year from one community. The business case kind of justified the teeny bit of manual work. This just makes it better. Just will make life a little bit more seamless, better. And here's the really cool thing is that once this is in place, a lot of our WellSky clients are getting double billed in essence. So they're managing clients and billing out of WellSky because they chose not to do it in Cinch. So they're going to bill at WellSky and bill from us. Once this interface is done, it's only billed from us. So WellSky is not going to charge clients for community care. It's us. And that's a savings, pretty significant savings. And we looked at us, we had 4 communities and we had 140 clients and we only paid for 4 clients to WellSky because we just created we called a community a client. And that was the beauty of it, and then all the actual clients were managed in Cinch. And so we avoided a double billing situation, but this just makes it clean. And I'm excited about doing this. And kind of the last piece, what we're excited about is the care plan task coming over to us. And that will, for nurses, and that will make their life a little bit easier too. But phase 1, we wanted it, the big benefit to us was single billing, single platform. And that you say when, well, we're literally, I feel like we're the fighter jets are on the tarmac and we're waiting for that care log piece. They said it's like an 80-day status. And once that's done, we're going to get it out there. And we've already got like 6 WellSky clients of ours that want a beta test. So I think it's good news for Always Best Care that are WellSky users that we really have a solid relationship.
And once the integration's in place, they don't have to do anything. Like, it's not like you have to do anything when the integration's in place, it'll just get easier.
And we'll have tutorials, we'll have videos, we'll have training. If you look at us, we're teachers. We love this. We love webinars. We love to teach. That was our MO when we were Aware Senior Care. We did and our product is full of self-help, PDF docs, how-to videos. Mike is our producer. He's a natural. He's got that voice. And anything you want to know about Cinch, it's in there. Obviously we want to empower you guys. We'd rather not have you call us, and so that it's great. So in terms of, I figured a lot of people are just thinking about getting into it, but are maybe a little nervous about it. I mean, we were going into communities and we're on our 4th community. I mean, our 4th agency, they're not doing well. That didn't give you a lot of confidence. Maybe why are they failing? Well, we figured it out. They just didn't have the right solution. And now we do. And so to get people started, we have a Cinch starter. So for up to 6 clients, there's no cost. And the idea is we couple the Cinch starter with the next service that we have called Community Ready. And what we did is take all our knowledge of years and years of doing this and created templates and a process we call Cinch OS, how to find, qualify, present, how to set up caregiver orientation, training, how to recruit caregivers for this environment. It's different. And we could share all of that knowledge with you. And it comes with a couple of hour coaching. And we set the retail at $8.95, but for Always Best Care, if anybody wants to jump on this in the next 60 days, be $4.95. And basically it's a library. You can go up, this is all on our website. If you go up to and you click on Cinch OS for Community Ready, there's an outline and you'll see the IP. It's pretty impressive. It's the time savings alone dwarfs the cost. I wish I had this when we were getting into it. We basically just had to make it up, and that's what That's what about. So that the idea is for you, this is a competitive market. And when you present to an ED, and we coach you on how to approach a community, ask a lot of questions, get a feel for what is important to the ED, and then build a presentation. CINCH is part of your weapon to say, hey, we understand community-based care. It's different. And we have this solution. You can even include screenshots and say, because I got hit with one presentation, and I think I even put it in our tools. Community said, tell me how you're going to manage this, because the last three have blown it. And I showed it to him. I showed him CINCH, and he goes, wow, okay. You obviously know this is different, and you've got something. We'll give you a shot. So that's what's ready is CINCH ready, community ready is CINCH Starter. CINCH Starter is free. If you get a community, once you go over 6, then you would start to pass logically. But this lets get people familiar with it. It's got all kinds of tutorials in it. And then of course you want to pull this community ready. We have a lot of people signing up for that. This is a graphic from one of our customers, Phil Grazier from Comforting Arms Private. He had his before and after. This was his before CINCH. He's very funny. I mean, home care agency owners are great people, and we all have to keep a good sense of humor sometimes, and we're stressed. Phil is unbelievable. Before I do a Q&A, I'd like to introduce Tyler West. Micah, can you spotlight Tyler? Tyler is a principal at Senior Care Business Advisors. And I believe Charlene was an original agency owner, if I'm not mistaken, from Always Best Care.
Yes, sir. She was with the Always Best Care system.
But Tyler and a number have formed a company. It's a consulting company, Senior Care Business Advisors. And we are looking to forge a partnership. I think we have a mutual admiration society between us, but Charlene and Tyler, just incredibly smart. And they've got a turnkey launch pad that will bring you soup to nuts all the way up to speed. But then there's other things that if you're operating, you need to improve your marketing, caregiver recruiting. They offer a number of services. And why we met them is we're interested. They're technologists too, by the way. They have a background in WellSky, came from WellSky, a number of them. They know technology inside and out. So if you're struggling with technology or whatever, they know WellSky really good. That's good news. So we're trying to forge a partnership. I'd like to just give a little airtime to Tyler to introduce himself.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we actually do have a background, not just with the Always Best Care system, but with WellSky itself. My partners and I all used to work at WellSky in a number of ways. I wrote all of the e-learning material for WellSky Personal Care, which used to be Clear Care at the time I was there. James, one of my other partners, was the third employee at Clear Care and did most of the product development and design there. And then Charlene was on the customer success team, as well as an analytics subject matter expert with Clear Care / WellSky Personal Care. And one of the things that we offer to our WellSky prospective clients or clients is a WellSky Personal Care audit that is absolutely free. But we'll go in there and James will actually review your system and make sure that you're using your WellSky system both for best practices in the industry, as well as to the best ability that your WellSky system is set up for. For example, we have one client that had not updated their WellSky system since 2014. So we're now working with to integrate the new features that WellSky has and get his team using best practices and all the tools possible within WellSky to streamline the operations across his multiple offices.
Wow.
So we have an entire professional services team as well that, as Tim alluded to, we can help you with everything from gaining private pay clients to developing and tracking your KPIs, creating you customized analytics, your online marketing and website development if you'd like help with those things. We also offer bookkeeping services and staff retention and staff management. And with the staff management, we've done everything from managing people's sales teams to Charlene acts as the CFO for one of our largest clients. So we do a little bit of everything. We also can serve as a temporary director of operations if you guys need to go take a vacation and need somebody to reins over to.
Nice.
I guess the question is, what don't you do, Tyler? When it comes to home care?
Yeah, we only focus on home care, guys, so we don't consult in
Yeah.
any other industries. And I guess I should mention we do have an after-hours service where it's not just an answering service, we actually reschedule call-outs as well as do client intakes and caregiver intakes. And we'll load those directly through your initial call in WellSky for the prospects. And then schedule meetings on your calendar, however you prefer to handle the next steps with your prospects. So, thank you, Tim.
Oh, you're welcome, Tyler. Charlene is an advisor. We have we've been blessed with a number of advisors. And one of them is Todd Austin, besides, and people know him from Home Care Pulse, in terms of guiding us, reviewing. You can see Tyler and team are technologists. Charlene, they're going to review. CINCH 4.3 is coming out now, and then we have CINCH 5.0 that we're incredibly excited about, the features that we're providing with the product. But and then we believe in team. That's what home care is about, and is team. And so we're forming our team, and that's why we're forming a relationship with it. And you can see what they bring to the table. So I just wanted to give Tyler a little short intro to you. And yeah, they're great people, really smart, really great to work with. So Q&A wise, we didn't want to do a full demo. You saw some of the screenshots. Really happy post if you want to kick the tires, schedule a meeting, and kind of show the real deal. Happy to do that. Really happy to schedule a meeting with us, and just let me know. But we're really excited about Always Best Care. Your WellSky is your platform. A lot of the Always Best Care owners, and if you're thinking about community care, that's a good thing. It's not easy. It's like black diamond skiing, but you can master it. We're here as your wingman. We're more than just technology. We're a partner. We're vested. And you get the testimonies from our clients. You'll hear that. Every step of the way. We love Micah. Micah loves this. We get a HubSpot problem and we're all over it. And we're very agile. So our clients will tell you too, is we don't come up with quarterly releases. We put stuff out sometimes in 2 weeks where we thought it was very valuable feature that benefited many clients. So we have very agile development, very short cycles for product releases. So yeah, questions, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, Charlene or Charmaine, did you want to go ahead and ask your question as well?
Hi. Yes, I apologize. I joined 10 minutes late. I had, home care.
Yes, we do.
So if any of my questions were already covered, I do apologize for that. But I'm in the Chicago area. I'm in the northern suburbs of Chicago. We are very heavily saturated with other home care companies. I started doing this 13 years ago, and it was crowded then, but this is bonkers. So the competition to get into independent living communities is pretty tough. And I'm noticing that a lot of the buildings going up now, they're not independent living, they're assisted living. So do you have any kind of an inside track on any communities coming into any specific markets? Because I think the only way, there's two ways to get in, right? You either get lucky and you capture a community who is unhappy with the care they're getting now, or you get in on the ground floor with a brand new construction community. I'm just wondering if option 2 might be a better way to go. Because we've never done this. And I've always been intimidated, but this makes sense to me.
And it's 2 different approaches. We were blessed to have both. So we had a new community approach us because we were in 2 other communities and said, hey, we want you guys, before anybody had moved in. So it's a different strategy. It's like, okay, well, can we work with your sales team? Who do you have in the pipeline? Who's going to move in? Is anybody currently in their home who's going to move in, who needs help now? We can keep them safe at home until they can move into your community. Call it the road to Atria or whatever.
Yeah, marketing.
Right. Or understand that when people move in from a home, maybe they've lived there 30, 40 years, now they're coming into an apartment and I have to go where to eat my meal and what, introducing a get acclimated to my community program. Hey, these are just short visits. They're independent, they're completely healthy, but it's disconcerting and confusing to anybody who changes. So just a simple program of your new residents, we can do this. We can just do get used to your community where you stop by and go, oh, you know what? I think breakfast is being served, for the next hour. And you want me to walk with you down to the dining room? We got to the point where we would talk with the sales team where they said, we've got a couple. He really needs help. She's fine. Like, well, we would meet with them before they moved in. Absolutely. This is what we can do. So services were in place before they moved in. And the community loved it. They saw it as a real selling point that many of them were like, well, I don't need you now, but it's nice to know you're there. They go to, like Tim said, they go to the hospital and come back. We can do, maybe longer hours overnight, but then we could do pop-in visits during the day and then cut it back as they regain their independence. So it's marketing that we want to keep your folks at home. So that's why the community loves you. It's like they call it close, shut the back door. They go out to the hospital and they're gone. You're like, no, 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 no. We would visit them in the hospital. Hey, we have these services. We can bring you back. You can come back after rehab. So it's making sure that you're a real partner with the community.
That's it.
Part of their team.
You present, and this is part of the materials, and this is what I love to do. True partner. And we created programs, as Gina said, kind of the road to Atria. And that's when they're coming in, you build your circle of support around the community. They may not be ready. They need some help. We can do home care. You can have geriatric care managers part of that. You can have DME part of that. It's like whatever they need, you're keeping them in the pipeline. And when they're ready, they'll come to the community. And you get together with the on-site home health. They'll always have a partnership. So you get real cozy with the home health as a partner. And then you come up with processes where someone goes to the hospital. How are we going to track it? Like we worked with Bayard on one and they were on it. And they communicated with us, said, Mrs. Smith's about to come home. Are you ready? Yep, we are. And we all work together. So in a new community, you paint yourself as an asset, a partner. And like Gina said, ultimately, I love that. We need to publish our blog about shutting the back door. You want to help the ED keep them there and live a quality of life. And CINCH comes into it, Charmaine, where you can demonstrate your competency, right? That we understand this model is different and we have a solution to manage the short visits. And it may not start out that way, but over time, and you know what? The one community we thought the short visit model was going to take off and like wildfire, one of our beautiful communities here in Raleigh, Waltonwood. And it never did. But we got so many traditional cases, it fueled or funded the loss we were taking on the short visit side. And so you gotta look at the big picture. And then we were doing such a great job, and they were struggling staffing CNAs in assisted living. They actually asked us to staff their assisted living. The next thing you know, we had caregivers wearing our shirt, and then they peel off and wear their shirt. It was amazing.
So you can also, with that, with Waltonwood, that was a pretty centrally located community. So we had other clients nearby. So while we were trying to ramp it up and we only had 1 or 2 clients, we would tag it on to another visit. So Mrs. Smith lives in in a house, and she has a 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. visit. So we would offer, so we would pay the caregiver, extra
for a shift.
to go in and do a shower for half an hour, do a shower for half an hour here. We'd pay her for an hour and a half, and then she would go to her 4-hour visit nearby.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that at a CCRC in the next town over. They already actually have a agency that's officially affiliated with them, like financially part owners with them. So they're not going to be giving it up to me. But
Right.
we have so many clients that, I just knew that there was so much potential. I just took my best caregiver and she was game to do it. And she's you have to find the right caregivers. They have to be so versatile.
Yes.
Yeah.
I pay her, I
Yeah.
guarantee her 40 hours a week. And and yes, like you, I tagged, I had a couple that, using up 12 hours a week over, a couple days a week, 6-hour shifts, but then the others I'm doing several 2-hour shifts with them. It's not as short as your model is, but I'm trying to get in there that way.
Right. No, that's great.
But it's not official, and it's not with the community's not saying, hey, be our partner. I'm just kind of going, okay, I got someone there 40 hours a week. Deal with it, but I would love to get in and be the provider, but there are very few opportunities around here. So,
Yeah.
you
The other thing that you can do is you set yourself apart by arming yourself with the right tools, like CINCH. So for example, and when you have the right tool set, you do differentiate yourself. So as was mentioned earlier, there is a lot of turnover from home care agencies in these communities. If they're not set up correctly, it's difficult to make it easily managed. So make yourself known to the executive directors around there. They may have a home care agency in there already, but maybe they're not as super happy with them. Maybe they're seeing a decline in the quality of services. But if you make yourself known and show this is how we're going to back up the care that we have, that we're going to offer, it can make a real difference. It may not be right away, but when things start to shake a little bit, you'll come to their mind and you'll be that call.
okay, thank you. Can I ask one more question? I don't want to be a hog.
Oh, sure.
This is, your presentation was based on these short shifts, right? But, what about the longer shifts? What about, in some independent living communities, we can do live in, or, the 12 hours, or the more full-time traditional shifts. Do you lead with the short shift idea and then bring in I would imagine other caregivers for the longer, more permanent type schedule?
Because you said that it's a different kind of caregiver that enjoys the short shifts, because they're moving on and on. So we would use our traditional caregivers to come into the community. But that being said, we put them all through the community orientation, so they knew where to park, what to bring in, all the things that you need to know to be successful in the community.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thank you.
I don't think your microphone's on.
Yeah, I think we
can't hear
lost
you.
your audio, Tim.
I could see him
I was
talking.
wondering if it was me. Well, while he's fixing that, just for everyone to know, I put in the chat just the PDF of the presentation. So if you'd like to download that, you'll have it for reference there. Nope, can't hear you. Sorry, Tim. He's got something good to say.
Technology, gotta love it, Any other questions? Anything we can answer for you? That's something
Bill
like
or Gary?
people to have the CINCH starter you can play in it and see what it's like. And we don't ask for a credit card. We don't, nothing. You can just take a look at it and see.
Yeah, that's proved to be a very useful thing for some of our customers. They started off with a CINCH starter. They got used to it. They played around in it. And then, just as I was mentioning, Charmaine, they then took it to these communities that they wanted to get in. They used it as a tool to say, look how I'm going to provide this awesome quality of service. And look how everything is documented. Look at what we can provide to the family so they have the reassurance. And now they're off and running. So it just kind of sets it off as a little bit different that way. Yeah.
I want to make one comment because Charmaine, it was really, really cool. When we're out there talking to investors and so forth about actually congregating or cluster care, that's the future, doing more with less. And we were in a Del Webb community. Those of you, Del Webb's a national known, they call it active adult 55 communities, right? And we approached the board there, and they had spun off a group to vet home care. They called it Thrive in Place. And it was a couple of the residents, because they figured out having 8, 10 agencies, they weren't getting what they needed. None of them could do short this. They said, can't do it. We have a 4-6 hour min. And so we did a lot of seminars. So I planted the seeds that how about a relationship with 1 or 2? And then if we get a cluster, we can do a 2-hour visit. And they're like,
A 1-hour visit.
or what? And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And really it was like the caregiver RV. I mean, you roll up into the community. The community had 1,256 homes. And we ended up getting like 25 clients. So when I'm teaching home care agencies, think out of the box. There are tons of active adult 55 apartment buildings like Overture. They need
Yeah.
help.
There's a
And
couple
they're
near me,
clustered.
but they're smaller.
But I would go for older ones. Usually when people move in, they're pretty healthy. So the Del Webb community was probably
Yeah.
15 years old when we called them ripe. They became ripe. Okay, now they have plenty of people who need help. And so that's.
Yeah, but it's worth the conversation. And that's why I say the CINCH can help agencies change the narrative. You hit it on the nail. It's so competitive. The market's saturated. Here's a way to differentiate yourself. And one great person taught me, get above the noise and have a cluster care offering. And now you can go into active adult 55 multi-housing, active adult apartments, besides the ILs. And you have standalone ILs. And then you've got IL, AL, memory care. Each one of them are different. And typically where you have opportunities is when with a CCFC, they ended up paying us because they guaranteed skilled and their skilled was full.
Well, and assisted living was full. We didn't have assisted living.
And so they, to keep their seniors there, they contracted us to take care of them while they were building their new or assisted living, so there are opportunities there. So that's when you go in asking questions, what's your census like? What are your challenges? And you can say, maybe not qualified now, but maybe one day they will be. And like Gina said, she knows I went around to every wind down Wednesday, hanging the banner. One day you may want to call us. And they were like, hey, it's Tim again, but they knew about our reputation and they go, we're okay. And I said, yeah, you don't need to switch if your home care agency is doing great. That's great. Good for you. But one day they could misstep and they know that you're there. So it takes time, but I'd hit every bleeding one of them.
Well, I mean, I would say, as long as we're talking, I have to say that there are a couple of communities out there. The kind of the conventional wisdom, or at least around here, is that, yeah, the agency in that community is kind of not good.
Right.
We hear that a lot. We get clients who they don't want the agency that's in the building,
Right.
So yeah.
So wouldn't that be nice if you could go in and go, we can do it well. We can give your residents what they deserve and do it well.
You don't have to settle.
Yeah.
In other words.
Right.
And
yeah,
but I think there's congregate care, cluster care. You could change the narrative and your capabilities to address and go talk to the board of directors at one of those communities. Pitch the idea and team up with another home care agency. We teamed up a lot of times with another agency. So between the two of us, we had a backup, right? And we shared clients. And so we're just big believers in team, but we just feel CINCH can help transform you guys. It did us.
Yeah.
It really did us. It was like 33% of our revenue. And then we had that staffing revenue. I couldn't believe it. And then the other 50% was our traditional. But
it's nice recurring revenue that you don't have to worry that somebody dies and now you've lost a 24/7 and
pretty stable.
So one person goes to the hospital, it doesn't really affect your revenue. You have a bigger base and a little bit of stability in a not so stable environment.
Yeah. So I know we're 2 minutes away. Bill, Gary, Ken, any
yeah. Thank you.
I know any other questions?
I was just real quick. You said your recording is can you send me the recording? Because my wife is the one that keeps directing my attention to the stupid phone here. Because I'm supposed to go pick her up. She teaches nursing students up in Northeastern University.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
But so she's going to want to see this too. And
Sure.
yeah, yeah,
we
the
don't-
recording,
we've had questions about, doing stuff like this, and because we're still one-on-one
Yeah.
with everybody. But this would open up a lot of different things for us because we're in a Charlotte, so we're highly competitive
Oh, okay.
oh, you're
nature
right there in
too.
Charlotte, yeah.
And so yeah, if I can get that to let her watch this, it'd be a big help. And
You bet. Yeah,
happy
Michael,
to.
once it renders, it takes a while, but I'll
That's
send
fine.
it out to everybody that was registered or
perfect. Thank
guys.
you.
And no, it was a pleasure meeting you all. Thank you so much for what you're doing for seniors.
Yeah.
And if we can help you change the landscape there, we'd be thrilled to do it. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.